Fellas, on today's content we are gonna wrap up the magical misadventures of a toxic Rain Elementalist and her 7 golems. I've got a couple of endgame bosses to showcase the character's final form. The usual ones, Sirius, Maven, Elder, and some random gameplay here and there. Now yes, this was, and I quote, a goofy ass setup. From the skill tree to the gear to babysitting golems, while attempting to deliver damage, was an experience to say the least. But you know what? It worked, and quite smoothly if I may add. However, I had to do some changes to the character, namely in the bow and body departments, but some gear pieces did see a bit of an upgrade too. You'll see what I mean when we get there. With that said, unlike my toxic Rain that I built from last league, this is definitely not on the same level. That isn't to say that this is weak or anything of that matter, but mainly because Toxic Rain's recent changes did a number on the DPS output. The random spread of the pots hurts in the single target department as it's harder to stack more of them on top of each other, which is going to make things take a little bit longer than what they used to. But it's not terribly bad as you are seeing from the gameplay. Finally, I will advise using the neutered version of the exploding mod if possible. I was using Impulse's Broken Heart for the longest time ever, and that was barely popping any enemies. So I figured that the nerfed exploding mod probably does the same if not better than Impulse's. Granted, that requires an Awakener Orb which translates into more investment since, you know, gambling, but that is up to you. Anyways, before spoiling more of this character's shindig, hey, if you are new around here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, otherwise rating and a comment are always appreciated. And now let us talk about why Elementalist is a top tier choice for anything, even non-elemental damage builds. Alright everyone, it's quote-unquote gear time. And I say that because the majority of this character's gear remains the same. A couple of pieces did get a divine or two, but the big changes are in the bow and body department. So for example, the weapon is now a fractured bow with an additional arrow as the locked modifier. By using faceted, corroded and metallic fossils, I was able to force an additional dexterity gem level and a socketed gem level. And then I multi-modded Chaos Damage over Time multiplier alongside +2 levels of socketed support gems. It didn't give me the hugest DPS improvement ever, but in comparison to the previous bow, this one is superior, especially for the stuff that we are currently doing. The body armor is now a Redeemer influenced chest, with the chance to gain a frenzy charge on hit alongside life and a resist. Optimally speaking, you use Aisling on research at tier 4 to add either more life or resistance into it, but that's gonna be up to you. And as I said in the intro, if possible try to cram the exploding modifier into this chest, through an Awakener Orb obviously. From there on out, I also recrafted the helmet and it now has more life and chaos resistance, which was something that I needed. Now to quickly go over the rest of this stuff as they didn't see much changes, the quiver has both regular damage over time multiplier and chaos damage over time multiplier. The gloves are apothecary gloves with chaos damage over time multiplier. The boots have chance to dodge spell hits, alongside moving the aspect of the spider into them. The amulet is the primordial chain for extra golems and we anoint Golem Commander for yet another golem. This is here mostly due to the golem buffs which are hard to beat, especially when we have 7 of them at all time. One ring has Despair on hit, and the other one has Onslaught on hit as the implicit. Both of them need reduced mana cost of skills crafted on them. And we also use a Darkness Enthroned, which is going to host 2 Abyss Jewels with as much damage over time while wielding a two-handed weapon. 4 flasks, a Witchfire Brew, a Sulfur and a Quartz. If you have the currency, a Bottle of Fate instead of the Sulfur. But yeah, that's a rough overview of the gear. We saw the majority of it previously, which is why I speedran through it today. Obviously you want as much life, resistances and chaos resistance on everything and anything, so don't sleep on those. The gear isn't particularly expensive, especially if you craft most of it, but do expect to spend some currency making things work. Anyways, let's discuss the skill tree now. Alright, so just like the gear, we're gonna quickly go over this because we've seen it before, and if you haven't, you can check it through the PoE. This is a level 95 Elementalist. No bandits befriended, and for pantheons, Solaris or Lunaris and Shakari are the choices. In the realm of the Ascendancy, we pretty much go towards the Golem nodes first, then the Shock and then the Chill on hit. But if you feel squishy, feel free to drop the Chill and take the Primal Aegis node instead. Just like the last time, the witch starts in a bit of an awkward position for this build's purpose, as the useful stuff is around the Shadow, Ranger and Scion areas. We are gonna focus on damage over time stuff on the Shadow starting area, alongside some life and jewel sockets. We need an intuitive leap in between Shadow and Ranger to allocate method to the madness and charisma. We also spec into the dodge keystones, and we grab the cluster jewel node above the dodge keystones. The large cluster jewel has 8 passives at most, with Touch of Cruelty, Misery Everlasting and Unholy Grace. One medium cluster has 5 passives at most, with Misery Everlasting and Wish for Death. The other medium cluster is a Megalomaniac with Tempered Arrowheads and Fist of Flesh. Tempered Arrowheads is the mandatory modifier on this Megalomaniac, but the other life node can be anything else. Just make sure that you get a life node on it. From there on out, we head towards the Scion area through the Ranger starting point, as we want the skill duration and life, grabbing some damage over time stuff on the way. We use a Watcher's Eye with reduced mana cost of skills while affected by clarity, and a Replica Conqueror's Efficiency for even more reduced mana cost of skills. The rest of the jewels have increased maximum life and 2 damage modifiers: generic damage, projectile damage, area damage, chaos damage over time, etc. The only big change from last time is the addition of a jewel socket. Everything else is exactly the same. So with that said, let's talk about the gem setups now. In the weapon, we want a level 21 and 20 quality Toxic Rain, Anomalous Mirage Archer, Anomalous Void Manipulation, Awakened Vicious Projectiles, Anomalous Efficacy and Empowered level 4. In the boots, Wither linked to Spell Totem and faster casting, optimally multiple totems too. In the body armor, Lightning, Chaos, Flame and Stone Golems, also a portal gem. In the gloves, Malevolence, Clarity and Arctic armor with all of them linked to Enlighten. And in the helmet, Withering Step and Flame Dash, linked to Second Wind, also Valve Light. But with all of that said and done, let's conclude this character's journey. Yes, Toxic Rain got nerfed. You can mostly see that in the single target department. The random spread of the pots and the changes to area of effect do hurt when it comes to delivering toxic goodness to thick enemies or bosses, but overall it's nothing that you cannot manage. With all honesty, the change done to the skill feels more like an attempt at slowing it down without really trying to kill the playstyle or build. Monsters still melt as soon as they are touched by the projectiles, so the clear is not that bad, and you can help it further with an exploded chest, even on its nerfed form, as I keep saying. The single target is the only place where things feel different to previous leagues, and even then, it's mostly against the endgame content. Everything else seems fine, but again, it's just slower, not dead or useless. The setup is definitely goofy. The Elementalist is likely the last thing anyone will consider to build something similar, but being totally honest, I'd say it's not too far-fetched. The character handled everything with relative smoothness, so much so that I leave you with Maven's fight to wrap up this video. So if you got to this point, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, otherwise a rating and a comment are always appreciated. Thank you so much for watching the video. Take care, have a nice rest of your week, and be sure to tune in next time where we set up yet another goofy ass build that somehow manages to tackle endgame content. Peace out.
When I'm ready and not before.
Turns to
ready and not before.